During the fall feasts, it's not uncommon to hear a complaint about the phrase Rosh HaShanah, head of the year, to describe the first of the seventh month, the first of Tishri. It's not in the Torah, you'll hear. It's Babylonian paganism influencing the Jewish world, you'll hear. Rosh Hashanah really is at the beginning of Nisan, or the first month of the feast calendar. Well, in my opinion, Rosh Hashanah is totally fine to use for the seventh month. In this video, I want to show you why. Shalom, welcome to Rob on the Rock. I'm Rob Van Hoff. This is the time of year where you might hear a complaint against calling the beginning of the seventh month Rosh HaShanah. Some have even suggested this is a pagan influence on the Jewish world. Well, we might look to the Bible. In the Bible, we find the phrase Rosh HaShanah only one time. It's in Ezekiel 40, verse 1, and where Ezekiel says, on the 10th day of Rosh Hashanah, on the 10th of the month, that he has this vision from the Lord of going to Jerusalem in the Spirit and measuring the temple, accumulating, as we read in Ezekiel 41, verse 4, measuring the Holy of Holies. In my opinion, it makes most sense to understand Ezekiel's vision of chapter 40 and 41 as indeed on Yom Kippur, on the Day of Atonement. That is, when Ezekiel says Rosh Hashanah, he means the seventh month. And when he says the 10th day of that month, he's referring to the holy day called Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, on which it was fitting for him to have a vision of the entire temple, of the priesthood, the sons of Tzadok, and of course measuring even the Holy of Holies. But there's another way we can approach this problem, and that is by looking at Ezekiel's use of describing months generally. What is his style? So if we set aside Ezekiel 40 for a moment, where he says Rosh Hashanah, but doesn't give us a number for the month, and we set aside Ezekiel 45, where he describes the feasts of the first and seventh month, let's look at Ezekiel's use of numbering months as a whole. Then we'll come to chapter 45 in the end. So we see here that two times, in 29:17 and in 30, verse 20, Ezekiel refers to the first month. He doesn't call it by name, Nisan or Abib. He says the first month. 31, verse 1, he refers to the third month. It was the third month. The beginning of Ezekiel is in the fourth month, 1, verse 1. In 20, verse 1, he mentions the fifth month. In 8, verse 1, the sixth month. The 10th month, Ezekiel mentions three times, 24:1, 29:1, and 33:21. And finally, in 32, verse 1, Ezekiel refers to the 12th month. So notice here, they're all numbered months. And the first month, he refers to twice as the first month. Then we look at 40, verse 1, and he refers to Rosh HaShanah. 40, verse 1. Well, why would he refer to Rosh HaShanah here? Well, if we remember back, we realize he never refers to the seventh month. He does refer to the first month twice. How come he didn't call that Rosh Hashanah? He had plenty of opportunity in these two, in chapter 29 and in 30, and no reference to the seventh month. But when we get to 40, verse 1, he refers to Rosh Hashanah, which I take to mean the seventh month. And the backing of that is the passage from Leviticus 25, 9 and 10, which I can read for you very quickly. It says, "Then you shall sound a ram's horn abroad on the 10th day of the seventh month. On the Day of Atonement you shall sound a horn all throughout your land. Thus you shall consecrate the 50th year and proclaim a release through the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you," so, etc. So you can look now and refer back to Leviticus 25, 9 and 10 on the commandment pertaining to declaration of the year of Jubilee. So Rosh HaShanah, in my opinion, is referred to by Ezekiel the prophet in exile as referring to the cycles of the Jubilee year. And that's confirmed. The later rabbis in the Mishnah say that there are 4 Rosh HaShanah, that there's actually 4 starts of the year, depending on what cycle is being talked about, whether it's of the months, which of course is Nisan, the first of all the months. There's an agricultural cycle, and then there's this the cycle for jubilees and years of release, and that is counted from the 7th month. So in my opinion, this is not a pagan influence like you've heard in maybe some Hebrew roots teachings out there. Rosh Hashanah is a totally fine term to use for the first of the 7th month. Now, finally, we look at Ezekiel 45, where he lists the feasts. He refers to the first month, first day, first month, 14th, of course, which is the Pesach, and the 7th month, the 15th of the month. It's the beginning of Sukkot, which is the holiday we're celebrating right now when I'm recording this video. So the only time Ezekiel refers to the 7th month is when he refers to it back to back with the first month, referring to the feasts of the Torah. But when Ezekiel mentions Rosh HaShanah in 40 verse 1 and the 10th day of that month, then that is Yom Kippur, and it is an acceptable way to refer to the 7th month of the year. It does not mean that it is a brand new year where we'd celebrate Passover. That would be silly. There's no one suggesting that we celebrate Pesach and unleavened bread in the 7th month. No one's suggesting that. Everybody agrees that's in the spring, and that is the first month of the year. In the terms of counting months, Nisan or Aviv is the first month. So I hope this video is helpful for you to see how when Ezekiel refers to Rosh Hashanah in chapter 40, he's most likely referring to the 7th month for a few reasons. His way of numbering months, he calls the first month several times, never Rosh Hashanah. The vision is appropriate to a vision that the Lord would give Ezekiel in exile on Yom Kippur, thus solidifying the 7th month. And it makes sense because of our parallel passage in Leviticus 25 that Yom Kippur is the time of declaration of the new year of Jubilee. And so the cycles of counting Jubilee and years of release, that is every 7th year, are counted from the 7th month. Shalom.